So in the newest patch we had just gotten a giant Kirin Tor questline where we find an artifact and we reach a pocket dimension where we discover, out of all the people, Kel'Thuzad. This doesn't appear to just be a memory or an avatar, as he seems fully sentient. He actually manages to teleport out of it. He talks about how he made this pocket dimension split from the real timeline, where he's experimenting with souls, life energies, and using true and unbound magic. Saying that he has been rezzing himself countless times in the past 2 decades and that Blizzard is really trying to undo a lot of the Shadowlands lore, this does seem like a hint that this won't be the first appearance or the last appearance of Kel'Thuzad we're going to see, and it appears he knows something that we currently don't. So what is this new 11.0.7 questline? Let's cover all the latest juicy information. Did you know you can talk to WoW characters via the Poly app on your phone? Super interesting concept. I just created my own personal war chief troll and asked him a few questions about what is going on with the war within. You can create any character you want, provide information, backstory, pick a matching voice, and you can get a really realistic chat option, which is super fun. So use my link in the description below and my code DORAN to get premium features right away and create your own character in Poly AI. So interesting enough, Blizzard is already following up on the fall of Dalaran that only really happened 2 months ago, and if you might not have noticed, this is actually amazing news as it finally shows that they're actually building a cohesive storyline. Back in the past 2 expansion, Blizzard was constantly just starting these big plot points and then just abandoning them with no follow-up whatsoever, but here it is now becoming obvious that this is just like the step 2 of a huge process that they already got planned. So 11.0.7 isn't just a new Siren Isle. We had gotten a pretty big Fate of the Kirin Tor questline that boils down to us cleaning up the mess that was left after Dalaran fell. We notice huge magic problems and big magical artifacts are seemingly lost, which causes big issues. However, what kinda came out of nowhere is Kel'Thuzad, and I totally didn't see them bringing up his character back again, and even more interestingly, there are hints that we might not have actually finished up his storyline in the Shadowlands as we had previously believed. So to start off, we got Aethys, Sun Reaver, one of the main mages, to do a follow-up on the destruction of Dalaran. Here, he interestingly enough talks about whether it is even worth it to rebuild Dalaran again, seeing that it was already destroyed 2 times in quite a short period. But personally, I feel like this is a small hint that it will actually be rebuilt. I've made this video in the past, but with the midnight revamp of Third of a Continent, we are very likely going to get the area where Dalaran was originally on the ground revamped. Here they are talking about, like, I don't even know if it's worth it, but I can totally see a questline where we're bringing Dalaran home back to the ground where it previously was for thousands of years. Now Kelagos, one of the members of the Council of Six, talks about how he has been trying to reach us from Khazlagar, but the way Dalaran was destroyed created even bigger problems than we previously thought. The Arcane Blast started interfering with long-range teleportation, and there was no way to be able to magically teleport to where we currently are. Now, here we realize that the destruction of Dalaran actually caused a lot of problems. You may remember that Dalaran, outside of being a city, had a massive prison holding up some crazy powerful creatures from all over the universe, and it was also a place where a lot of magical artifacts were kept at the same time. This is the reason why we had these giant Draenor monsters hanging around Khazlagar, but we also realized that even a mana bomb was stolen, which, as you may imagine, is quite a big problem. However, interesting enough, we find this mysterious necklace that was kept around Dalaran, and it appears to be cursed, and then it traps us into a pocket dimension, and this is where Kel'Thuzad steps in. So, long story short, that you may already know, but Kel'Thuzad is a really weird guy when you think about it. If we had one character that just can't seemingly die in a conventional way and can't go away, it is Kel'Thuzad. First, he was a powerful mage experimenting with forbidden magics, then he created a plague of undeath, and even by that point he was already nearly undead. However, he then died and was resurrected as a lich through the Sunwell. Then he started messing up with his phylactery, which was a giant mystery for the longest time. We defeated him in Classic, he returned to the phylactery in Rat, but the phylactery was still around, which brought the by now ancient speculation that Kel'Thuzad was never truly defeated. However, in the Shadowlands, they unfortunately brought him back to just kind of mess him up, I guess. Realized he had infiltrated the Death Realm, teamed up with Denatrius and the Jailer, and went to Maldraxxus. Here, he rose to a position of power. He plunged the realm into chaos to further the Jailer's plans. Ultimately, he was destroyed in the Sanctum of Domination, or so we thought. You might have noticed recently that the new Blizzard has been trying to undo as much Shadowlands lore as possible, which brings us currently to this new pocket dimension. So as we get in, we get first warning signs with a ton of these interesting documents. We see a letter from Antonidas that tells him to just abandon this forbidden stuff that you're doing. Then we see a journal from Kel'Thuzad where he's disappointed in young Jaina that he believes is just a mediocre mage that doesn't have the ambition to explore true and unbound power. Then yeah, he starts going even crazier. He talks about how rat experiments are useless, how he's transitioning from rat experiments to human subjects, and how he's going to start abducting people in the sewers of Dalaran because that will be an easy way to do it. Then we see a keychain that says Stratholm, a bag of grain, and then we reach his mirror image that confirms that this is indeed Kel'Thuzad. So we realize that this is an image, an avatar of Kel'Thuzad in his pre-Lich era, and we can actually talk to him with a bunch of dialogue options. He says that this is a pocket dimension he had created to keep the realm from prying eyes where visionary mages can make real progress, a world of shadow cloaked in magic where time bends and power flows freely. No distractions, no fools meddling in your affairs, just ambition and pure magic. He says he's the sole master of this pocket dimension, and he says that the Kirin Tor is weak, they don't want to sacrifice their narrow-minded. He says that death is merely a doorway to a greater power. He's apparently searching for the key to true immortality, which is a big hint, by the way. In this dimension, he is reanimating, reshaping, rewriting the very laws of existence using souls and energy as tools. He says the Kirin Tor is constantly just debating, moralizing, creating all these codes, and that they had forgotten that magic isn't a gift, it is a power that can be used. Then when we try to leave, he gets a little pissed, but he lets us go anyway. Interesting enough, he actually has a portal and seems to leave, which is a little bit confusing. It kind of shows you that this isn't just like a memory or an avatar. Now, you may be thinking this is just a quick nostalgia bait, it doesn't mean much, and I can agree to a degree, but there is actually a few justifications on why we may be seeing more of Kel'Thuzad and why they decided to bring him back out of all the other characters. So, the main reason, and the most practical one, is that it has been obvious Blizzard has been backtracking hard on the Shadowlands lore. They can admit to their mistakes multiple times publicly, they know they ruined a bunch of iconic characters, and even the most recent Chronicle book that was released a few months back seems to, well, not outright retconning Shadowlands, it seems to be lessening the impact and making it a lot more ambiguous than we previously thought. I think we can all agree that while it was cool to see Kel'Thuzad in the Shadowlands, it was definitely not good character writing or a satisfying end to his character or a satisfying storyline. Now, the second reason why I think this is relevant is that this is out of all the characters Kel'Thuzad, a guy that has died more than anyone we had ever known, that was resurrected as a lich, that lived in a phylactery, and that he's been just super ambiguous throughout the years, like very mysterious. Now, this wasn't just some avatar repeating the same dialogue, it seemed like an actual part of Kel'Thuzad that is like fully sentient, that you can actually talk to. Even more interesting is his dialogue. He says that he made this pocket dimension split away from the real timeline, and that he's experimenting with souls and life as energy. We really have no idea what he really knew, and as you can see, his knowledge of death went much deeper than we ever knew, as he obviously ventured into the Shadowlands itself. However, I feel like he knew what was actually going to happen, and that he might have stored a part of his soul within this pocket dimension before he started the entire Plague of Undeath thing. Why I think it is foreshadowing for his future return is because this is not some memory scene or some NPC that attacks us, but we can kind of see him, talk to him for a minute, and he actually goes his own way. Honestly, with everything we had known being a lie, the Shadowlands being a meme as a Death Realm, who even really knows what true death is? I feel like spellcasters like Kel'Thuzad could have possibly known about all this, transcended the imposed life and death cycle that Azeroth is in, which is why I feel like we're going to see him in the future. Of course, at the same same time, it is possible that this is just a tiny little reference, but with how significant of a character he is, I think they may be currently leaving a door open for him to return at some point. However, after we get back, the questline continues. Jaina confirms that the lingering arcane interferes with teleportation and that a bunch of mages actually got stuck in portals when the explosion happened. However, the entire questline culminates when we go to Ashka Head and we realize that the Nerubians had actually stolen a mana bomb, which, as you may know, is a crazy potent weapon and a huge problem. We recover it, the questline ends shortly after, but seeing that we only saw a few characters at the Council of Six, this really seems like part 1 of the Kirin Tor storyline that is going to continue. Honestly, I feel like the entire Dalaran storyline, our king, Kel'Thuzad and everything is just a start, and that we're going to be seeing the entirety of Kirin Tor being incredibly relevant all throughout the World Soul saga. Thanks for watching. Check out his Zulu and Azeroth by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Parent Select Mythology by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.